I went to this fucking brain clinic. I have to tell you about this.
Is this a place in Nashville?
No.
Oh.
This place is in Utah.
Okay. Ooh.
So this bitch reaches out to me and she's like, hey, a friend of mine said that you've had some head injuries. We'll have you out to this brain clinic. And in return, it'll be like a $20,000 thing, but you'll get it for like a certain amount.
Right.
As long as you promote it.
Great.
So I'm fired up about it because I've always wanted to know like where my brain stood because I've had 4 really horrible head injuries. So I'm like, I want to know, like, am I going to have Alzheimer's by the time I'm 50?
Real quick, I want to get into this, but is it specifically from softball? Like how, was it concussions, like sliding into base?
Yeah, so the first one, I was 11. My dad was acting like a lunatic, and he was pulling me on an inner tube behind the boat. We hit a wave, and I hit heads with another girl, and it knocked me out cold. I went face down in the water, and my dad thought I was just being silly, and so he left me face down in the water for like 30 seconds, and then he realized I was knocked out cold. So he brought the boat around and they pulled me out of the water, and I was unconscious for like 5 minutes. Like, have absolutely zero memory of that. And he didn't know what to do, so he laid me down to take a nap, which is like the worst thing you're supposed to do.
Also, there should be some sort of like redneck handbook. Like, if you go down to the lake and you get 2 girls on an inner tube, don't whip them around the cove too quick.
Yeah, because by God, she's going to be out cold. And then definitely don't put her ass to bed for 4 hours and let her sleep it off.
And don't give her beer when she wakes up to try and, numb the pain.
Literally. Dad was like, you want some asprin? Another thing, you're not supposed to give aspirin because you got to know how long the headache goes.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
All right, see, we are learning lessons on this podcast.
Don't go to sleep and don't take aspirin. We got to know what your baseline is.
All right.
The other really 2 bad ones were in softball.
Yeah.
I got my jaw knocked out of place. So my bottom jaw actually sits sideways because when it came back in and they reset it, it's reset wrong.
Do you get bad TMJ? Does it get locked up?
At nighttime, I grind like a motherfucker.
Me too.
And then the other one, I got hit in the temple and got knocked out and had a seizure on the field. Anyway, so.
Oh my God. Jesus. I did not really mean to bring you through. I'm like, trauma dump right here, right now.
Truly. So I signed up for this brain clinic. And
Smart.
I get there and they give me this MRI. And the lady doesn't know that I do comedy. She just thinks I do content creation. And so she gets my brain scan and she sits me down in this private room and she's like, it's not good. And I'm freaking out. I think that my brain is fried. Like got like 10 years of good life and then I'm going to be a vegetable. And I'm like, well, what's wrong? She goes, well, the first thing I see is your ability to come up with language. And I said, what do you mean by that? She goes, improv. And I was like, bitch, what? How funny? I was like, damn, how funny could I have fucking been had I not got licked in the head 3 times, I'm like, this is unfair to the people around me. So then I'm like, well, okay. Well, what's the second thing? She goes, memory. You have a really hard time memorizing things. I have a memory of an elephant.
All right.
Like, I can remember anything. And I'm like, and what's the last thing? Well, you trip a lot, I'm assuming. I'm like, no, I don't trip a lot.
Solid as a rock.
Yeah, I'm like, brother, I'm good. So I was like, this is weird. So I start thinking none of that makes sense. So then immediately they put me into this 10-hour long therapy session to come up with language. And the first thing is the lady's like, I'm going to give you 12 words.
Okay.
And then we're going to do a 30-minute session. At the end of the 30-minute session, you're going to have to think of as many of those 12 words as you can think of.
All right.
When we get done, I remember 11 of the 12 words. And the woman is like, I've never seen one of our patients be able to do that. In fact, some of our nurses can't do that. And I'm like, yeah, and I can walk on my own 2 feet. So then
did she get the wrong results?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
So then we go and do a kumbaya with the 7 patients. And when I get in there, Heather, I'm not trying to make light of this, but it was an odd situation.
Was everyone a little,
One guy was so cross-eyed when he cried, tears ran down his back. And I asked him, I said, hey, brother, what happened to you? And he could not get the words out.
Okay.
With a simple question of like, what was your injury? He could not tell me what the injury was. The second girl, she goes, hello, my name is Helga. I come here from another country. If I do not get correct treatment, I am going to kill myself.
Okay.
Okay, so it was really devastating.
Okay.
And then they get to me, and they're like, Danae, tell us a little bit about yourself. And I'm like, hey, y'all, I'm Danae. I'm a stand-up comedian. I also do skits online and sketches. I'm married for 3 years to a beautiful girl. Yeah, anything else you guys want to know? And they're all like, how the fuck did she get invited to here? You know what I mean?
Can I tell you, though, a lot of people look at stand-up comedy as a mental illness.
It truly is.
There were many times where my parents were like, what is wrong with you?
Right.
You're funny, but how are you going to make money at this?
Right. So
Yeah.
maybe they actually didn't judge me too hard.
No, they didn't. Listen, this business is so hard, and when you can start to make a profit off of it, I mean, I know that my entire family is a real sigh of relief. Assholes are declenching, you know?
Right. And in that moment, I just remember thinking, like, I think I got scammed. And so I left after the first day. It was supposed to be a 6-day treatment. And I called them and said, hey, something doesn't feel right. Like, I'm going to leave. And they got really upset about it. So I did some further digging, and I won't disclose the name of the clinic or anything, but I did some further digging, and there's been multiple people come forward. So what's happening is you're taking these vulnerable people where there's really, if you start to read into about brain health and stuff, there's really not much evidence to back what's going on with the brain. It's so underdeveloped in the sense of like, we don't know anything about it. And so you take that and you mix it with people that can barely speak and have been kicked in the fucking face by a horse and they're looking for some sort of help, and then you profit and there's no insurance involved. So it's just straight cash. And so I left after the first day and I was like, no, I am not going to advertise this because something is not sitting well, you know?